It is now 6:30. Council has assembled. You may begin the meeting.
Okay, thanks very much. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this committee of the whole meeting of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores and welcome all members, both in the room and on the live stream, and welcome everyone in the room with us this evening and everyone watching via YouTube. We're glad everybody's with us. Second item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement, and Councillor Duhaime has that this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which consists of the Chippewa of Saugeen and the Chippewa of Nawash unceded First Nation. We understand this land holds immense significance to the people of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. We appreciate those who live and work alongside us today and who continue the traditions of their ancestors and stewards of the land we are privileged to inhabit. We thank them for the contributions they have made in both caring for the land and in shaping this community. We commit to truth and reconciliation, to acknowledging the truth about what happened to Indigenous peoples because of colonization, and to reconciliation, which begins with each and every one of us. As a local government and public organization, we are dedicated to learning about Indigenous culture, to fostering a better relationship with First Nations and their people, and we commit ourselves to actions that move us forward on a path to healing along with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation.
Thank you. Third item on the agenda is disclosures of pecuniary interest. Ask any member if you have one of those you'd like to declare at this time. Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Thank you, Mayor, and through you. And as a member of the Saugeen of the Southampton Tennis Club, I have to declare a pecuniary interest in the presentation going on shortly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other pecuniary interest to declare at this time? Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. We have no additions, deletions, or amendments, and I don't believe we have any open forum requests. So we're on to delegations, and we have one delegation this evening. Just remind our delegation that council's allotted 10 minutes for your delegation, so we'd appreciate it if you'd keep to that timeline. And so our delegation is from David Stevens, Laura Del Silvestro, Mike Smith, and Wendy Buckley, and they're here to talk to us about a strategic plan for rebuilding the tennis courts at the Southampton Tennis Club. So come on up, the floor is yours when you're ready.
It's a little known fact that the town of Southampton has one of the largest tennis court facilities in all of Ontario. It's true. Good evening, council members and staff, and thank you for receiving this delegation from the Southampton Tennis Club. I'm Dave Stevens, board chair, and this is vice chair Mike Smith and Wendy Buckley, director. This presentation is to propose improvements to the Southampton Tennis Club courts and build on the long-standing partnership that the club has with the town of Saugeen Shores. Although the Southampton Tennis Club provides and maintains 15 tennis courts for 8 months a year, the club has been providing a full range of tennis lessons programs during July and August since 1956. The club is started by a local resident, Cross Warder, and along with local volunteers and summer residents, the club has grown to almost 1,500 members annually. The club is governed by a volunteer board of directors that ensures the core values of the club are maintained as the founders had envisioned. We've realized an increase in permanent, full-time resident members over the last few years. This is in part due to the growing Saugeen Shores community, but also due to the club's commitment to many community events. As the courts are open and accessible to members of the public, as long as the weather permits, the club has supported many community programs outside of the months where membership is required. Annually, the club hosts the Blue Water District High School tennis tournament, as there are no clubs north of Southampton on the Bruce Peninsula. This gives the SDC one of the largest catchment areas, including communities such as Sauble Beach, Wyerton, Owen Sound, Paisley, to provide organized tenants in the province, and we have the facilities to host them. The club regularly hosts neighboring tennis enthusiasts from Kincardine, Hanover, and Walkerton, and our facilities can easily handle the bigger crowds. Of course, also, the club promotes game to the younger generation. Along with the Ontario Tennis Association, we have offered introductory tennis lessons as part of the curriculum at local elementary schools in Saugeen Shores. The reach of the club and its passion for community is not only in the tennis world. Annually, the club hosts a booth at the Marine Heritage Fair, and the club has participated in the Leisure and Volunteer Fair and Health and Wellness Fairs in the community. It is long-standing tradition at the Southampton Tennis Club to provide a music award to a deserving student at GC Houston Elementary School each year. This award is presented during a season-ending ceremony attended by hundreds of members alike. From the club's humble beginnings, the two courts just off Victoria Street in Southampton, we recognize that the town has been a committed partner. Of the 15 tennis courts, 7 are operated and maintained by the club on land leased from Saugeen Shores. The club follows the typical community club model, whereby courts are located on public land and leased to an organization of volunteers to maintain, manage the facility, and provide recreational programming to the local community. Any tennis-related costs are paid by memberships and thus removed from the municipality's recreational budget. The municipality then benefits from the club, what the club can provide. We're proud of our heritage and historically have always strived to maintain operating independence. However, growing old sucks. As much as the club has worked hard to maintain the facilities as best in class, there comes times when larger capital expenditures are required. After almost 70 years, we must rebuild these courts from the bottom up to set them up for future generations. The 5 courts at Lake Street are at the hub of the club's activities. I was here for a meeting with a court contractor in the middle of May. And as I pulled up, I was shocked that on a Wednesday morning, I couldn't find a parking spot. The courts were full and there were players waiting on the sidelines to play. This tennis facility is important to all the growing list of residents who live, work, and play in Saugeen Shores year-round. These courts structurally have completed their lifestyle. Cracks on the courts cannot be feasibly repaired, and the fencing requires modernization. This proposal, recommended by the specialized court contracting company, is to completely dig up 3 of the 5 courts, assess and replace the base, and rebuild the courts with asphalt. The other 2 courts at this location will be patched and repaired, and then all 5 courts will be top coated with green and blue acrylic paint. The fencing will be replaced at this time to complete the transformation. The club has always strived to be fiscally responsible, always keeping an eye on expenses. The Southampton Tennis Club has provided top-notch tennis facilities by maintaining a strict repair program. Courts are generally resurfaced every 10 years, and a complete rebuild, as we're proposing, is a generational expense. The club alone has largely funded the court repair and resurfacing over the years, as well as maintaining the infrastructure around the club and the property. With all that, we have a current operating reserve of $250,000. The board, looking forward over the next 5 years, expects significant required capital expenditures, most of which involve rebuilding courts. We anticipate a net deficit in 2028 of $346,000. This deficit includes the estimated $350,000 repair costs, construction costs of the Lake Street properties. These are our goals, and they're lofty, and we have some work to do. And I'd like to introduce Mike here now to walk you through some of our fundraising initiatives.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Just want to advance the slide. So wanted to make it clear that we're not here asking for the council to cover the entire cost of this project. We're suggesting and respectfully requesting a partnership that represents a 50-50 split. We fully understand that in order to accomplish these goals of rebuilding these courts, that we're going to need to put in a lot of hard work and effort and really roll up our sleeves, and we're doing just that. To that end, we're focusing on the following funding sources. Number one is the STC membership donations. We have a fundraising goal of $100,000 within that bucket. We're lucky at the STC, we have a dedicated and loyal membership group who love the Southampton Tennis Club and the town of Saugeen Shores. So we're confident that we can get to this $100,000 total. We kicked off our membership fundraising drive on May 19th that runs through August 23rd, 2025. And happy to report at this early stage that we have raised $20,000 thus far. The second funding source that we're looking at are grants and corporate donations. Our goal there is $20,000. There are many supportive local businesses and organizations that we've been speaking with, including the Power Workers Union, Trillium Fund, and Tennis Canada. And although we don't expect historically or based on historic results for these donations to be extremely high, certainly every dollar is important, and the initial feedback we've received from these organizations has been positive. The third funding source, which we're talking about here, and the reason we're here today, is to respectively ask the town council to contribute $175,000, which represents a 50% split of the overall project costs. And we've also on this slide noted, just for your records and consideration, some similar court improvement projects that have been undertaken in the province of Ontario, where they looked at this multi-pronged funding approach, leveraging funds from the club itself, as well as from the town for your consideration. I just want to advance the slide. So that's the ask we're making of you. And I think it's important to understand that a number of worthy projects and causes come your way for your consideration as a town council. We recognize that when making those decisions, it's important to ensure that these investments align with and positively impact the council's strategic direction as per the town of Saugeen Shores strategic plan in 2023 through 2027. When looking at the plan and looking at a healthy and vibrant Southampton Tennis Club, we see a lot of synergy here and a lot of alignment, specifically when I look at the strategic pillars and directions that I've listed on this slide. One, meeting the needs of a growing community. There's a subheading underneath that, which notes promoting business growth. And two, by fostering a vibrant place to live and visit, which focuses on growing local arts, culture, and recreational activities. We see synergy with a healthy and vital Southampton Tennis Club aligning to these priorities that you outline in that plan. Some ideas that we listed here on the slide, you can see in some of the benefits of how enhanced recreational options for residents of all ages, increased social interaction and community building. Certainly a major boost to the local economy through increased tourism and a promotion of a healthy and active lifestyle are some of the alignment areas where we see synergy between what we're doing and your strategic plan.
So we have passed over 10 minutes there. So if you could wrap it up, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, well, good thing you mentioned that. That was actually our last slide. I just wanted to say thank you for your time. We value the partnership that we've had with the town over the past 68 years, and we look forward to that continuing. Thanks.
Very good. Thanks to all of you for the presentation. I will turn it over to members of council for questions or comments, but just wanted to make a process comment right off the bat. So you have made a financial request of the town of Saugeen Shores, and so we have received that now, and we're going to refer that to our staff, and they will take that and in all likelihood report back to us as part of our 2025 budget and business plan. So in all likelihood, we will, as a council, be discussing your request in more detail in the fall. So that's that's the process, just so everyone's clear as we get started here. And I'll ask if there's questions or comments from members. And I see the Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Dave, Mike, for your presentation. Hello, Wendy. Welcome. We listened to your presentation, 11 courts, 1,500 members. It's a vibrant club and just a really, really good service for our community. So I just want to thank you for all the great work you do to keep it functioning the way you keep it functioning. And drive by those courts a lot in the summertime, and they're busy. There's a lot of action there. So really appreciate all the good work you do. A few questions I had really to your just quickly. Your membership fee cost is what per person?
Wendy, maybe you can help us with that.
It's about $400.
If you just come up to the microphone there so that folks online can hear you.
I think it's approximately $400 for a family,
Okay.
and that's unlimited kids, obviously. We have some very large families, and $190, I believe, for a single.
Okay.
And then we have weekly fees and monthly fees and seasonal fees.
Do you pay professional tennis instructors?
We pay students.
Okay.
We have several students that teach the younger kids and the older kids and the adults.
Nice.
And then I have a clubhouse staff, all teenagers of 10.
Yeah.
And they're paid and usually for all the members' kids.
It's a big operation.
It is.
I was just wondering, from a public, we have there's two courts, it's at Lakeshore Recreation that are membership driven. To get on those courts, I believe you have to pay a membership or a daily fee. With 11 courts in some of this leased land from Saugeen Shores, there's no public courts there, correct? It's all membership driven. In other words, if you want to get on those courts, you would have to have a membership to play on those 11 courts?
Just so that I can correct you, Lakeshore has changed the 2 tennis courts into pickleball.
No tennis there
So
anymore?
there's no tennis there. So realistically now, we are the only,
That's it.
we have 15 tennis courts, by the way. And we're the only ones sort of for the Saugeen Shores members. And the interesting thing is, even though we suggest you have a membership for playing and for all the activities that we do, there are often times when the courts are empty and people that don't have memberships go on. And the 8 months of the year, we leave the nets up so that anybody can go and play tennis on tennis courts.
You can, just so I'm clear about this then, so because the municipality does not have public tennis courts. There used to be a couple at the harbor and
Right.
a couple at the high
Yes.
school, but they're gone.
Yes.
So the general public can get on those courts and play for free, you're saying?
Yeah. For 8 months of the year, there are nets up.
Okay.
And the 2 months that we operate, the courts aren't filled all the
Okay.
time, but they're filled with our programs.
Gotcha. With your capital reserve, you say you had about $250,000 in your capital reserve. Do you set aside a certain amount every year for capital replacement for your life cycle, life expectancy of your courts? Do you build your capital reserve every year?
We do, yes. So that $250,000 taken us a long time to build up. And we've come to a realization now that the larger capital projects have caught up to us.
Right.
And so we run a 5-year capital plan, usually about 5 years out, and we add to it and adjust to it as time
Okay,
goes.
gotcha. Is this a 2025 or 2026 project?
The budget that you're seeing that we pitched, that we proposed, was the 2024 budget.
What I'm saying is, you've asked for $175,000 in your presentation, and the mayor is correct. This has to be directed to staff and our budget deliberations in December, January 2025. But that 175, is this a 2025 project or 2026 project?
Yes, it is. Fall of 2025 is when we're proposing to
2025?
to do the work.
Just my last point, Mr. Mayor, is you talked about grants and corporate of $20,000, that you're going to go and try and find contributions. And I guess I'd like to offer this, is that I think with 1,500 members and economic spinoffs and active recreation, keeping people out of hospitals and doctor's office and being active in our community, I think there's a lot of good value to an application like that to the provincial government, so the Ontario Recreation Infrastructure Program. There's the Ontario Train Foundation. I don't know whether the RED program through a MAFRA would fund some of this, maybe not. But with the $20,000, there's two things about the money. Had you considered setting your goals higher than the $20,000 to raise through corporate grants? And I'm talking about provincial government, whether it's Boost Power or wherever, but have you considered that?
Yeah, I would suggest we have considered that. Based on some historic realities and some knowledge we have working with other tennis clubs, we thought that 20,000 was a reasonable total. So I hear you. I think we do have a compelling story to tell with that regard. We do have board members and ourselves included in pursuing those opportunities, but 20,000 was the number we were comfortable with for now.
I just think you've got a compelling story for a grant at a provincial level, because there's a lot of good value here. 1,500 members is a big membership. It's a story you can tell across Canada. Probably one of the biggest memberships per capita in all of Canada, perhaps. Who knows?
For sure. Yeah, no, we
So-
agree, and we are actively telling that story and hoping for good results.
Anyways, I would suggest that you just set your sights higher.
That's good
Um,
advice.
The other thing is, the last question, sorry, is the fundraising campaign, 1,500 members. So with the $350,000 expense, what target have you set? Because Southampton, I mean, well, Saugeen Shores are very generous with making donations to capital infrastructure programs, as evidenced by your Lamont Sports Park and our Wellness Center and other projects, library in Port Elgin. What goal have you set, the number you set for your fundraising campaign? With 1,500 members, might be a good opportunity to raise right within as well. So what target have you set?
Yeah, so our target with respect to member donations is $100,000. And thus far, we've raised 20,000, and we just kicked off that initiative on May 19th.
Okay. And again, I'd offer, I'm not trying to tell you what, it's your business, but I just think that this community is really generous. And again, you may want to set your sights a little higher with your fundraising campaign as well. And so,
yeah, we have generous membership group. We've set that number at 100,000, but obviously our goal is to exceed that number. And I guess time will tell.
So one thing I look forward to, and it's a question of staff, is that we set our 10-year capital forecast, or 10-year business plan already. We've just approved it in the past year. And that 175 is not in there. Something else would have to be bumped out to find that 175,000. So a question of staff. I don't believe, and I don't know who can answer this, but the $175,000, I don't believe would be in that 10-year plan.
No, I can answer that. It isn't in the 10-year budget.
Right. So something would have to give. So anyways, I look forward to, to discussing it in December, January. I think you've got just a great organization. I commend you again for all the good work you do, and we'll look forward to, considering that 175 when it comes around the budget time. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I see Councillor Grace now.
Hi, hope you can hear me.
Yep, we hear you
Can
just
you?
fine.
Great, okay. Thank you, Dave and Mike and Wendy for making the presentation. Our family has been connected to the tennis club for a long time. Our kids went through the whole program, and it's a wonderful program. I was interested in and looked up some of the comparative clubs that you mentioned. And one thing that I think it's important for everybody to realize is that a family membership or any kind of membership really, but if you have a family membership, that provides, I think, used to when my kids were little, classes every day up to the intermediate level, I think, for kids Monday to Friday, all the way through the summer. And when I looked at the Mississauga examples, the Brockton example, I didn't see that kind of lesson structure. And that's just a wonderful service, I think, to kids in the summertime. Is that still the case? Do you still offer that kind of lesson structure?
Yes, we do offer free lessons included with your membership for all youth age 5 through 17. And actually, we also have free adult lessons with your membership as well. That
Right.
run mornings, 5 days a week. That's correct.
Yeah, I forgot about the adult lessons too. Yeah. So to me, that's just amazing. And when you think of it, I know there's a membership cost, but if you factored in how much those lessons would cost if you were paying for them, that's one of the things I've always noted about this club. One of its strengths, it's very egalitarian. And, you know, it's just, there are so many things about it. People are attracted to come to Southampton because of it. People are attracted to, you know, to come and spend their holidays here or to invest by buying property here. So thank you very much for everything that you continue to do. I know it's a lot of work year round to provide this this wonderful club that's gone on for so long. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments from members? Councillor Dubinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's more of a comment. First of all, thank you, Dave, Mike, and Wendy for your presentation today. I've heard some wonderful stories about what's been done in the past because my wife, Anne, has been a part of the tennis club way back when as a child. And well, I shouldn't say way back when, I might get in trouble. Yeah, just recently. But as a child, she had the lessons. She met some people. They are still friends to this very day. And I know every summer we sneak down to the Lake Street courts and have a look, see what's going on. And then, of course, for the season-ending championships. So it's certainly a service to the community. Now, fortunately, if we don't fix these courts as they become in need of repairs, one day they just won't be there, and that would be a shame. We have, as a town, have supported Lamont Sports Park. We have supported next door, the AWC and so on. And I think it's time we supported tennis. And with that in mind, I will be supporting the $175,000 ask when it comes up at budget time this fall. And I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much. Further questions or comments from members? I don't see any. Well, thank you guys very much. And let me just say, on behalf of council, thanks very much for your work at taking care of and stewarding the Southampton Tennis Club. As you said at the beginning of your presentation, you called it the best kept secret. I think the secret may be out. People know about this club everywhere and they come here. And I think it's already been said, Councilor Grace said it, people come to our community either as visitors or even as residents because of the Southampton Tennis Club. And of course, has also been mentioned, you know, it's the source of many fond memories for lots of our residents, including many family members of mine. I was never much of a tennis player, but I know an awful lot of folks who are and who were and who have really benefited by what the Southampton Tennis Club has offered over the years. So as I say, we're going to refer this to our 2025 budget. As was also noted, we now budget on a 10-year basis, and we don't have funding for this in our 10-year plan. So it will require council to make some sort of difficult decision, either to find more revenue or to move something out so that we can move this in. So it'll be a conversation that council will have to have. And as always, it's about setting priorities and making decisions. So we'd certainly encourage you to keep working on your fundraising campaign. Find as much money as you can, and we will have our conversation in the fall and see in what ways we can work with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So,
Thank you all.
thanks.
Okay, so now we're on to, that's our the end of our delegations, and we're on to reports of municipal officers and committees. And staff reports. So we have a few staff reports there. And the first one is a staff report on our asset management plan for non-core assets. And Jessica Rogers, our asset management supervisor, has the report. Jessica.
Thank you very much. And through you, Mr. Mayor. The 2024 Asset Management Plan, Part B, Non-Core Assets, is a strategic document that outlines the current state, performance, and future needs of the town's non-core assets. The AMP covers our non-core assets, otherwise specified in the regulation as all other assets, which we have made to include the following categories: facilities, parks, trails, community service assets, which includes our memorial bench program and various street furniture items, fleet, IT equipment, land, transportation assets, business units, and equipment. The AMP is based on the best available data and information as of 2023 and meets the requirements of the amended Ontario Regulation 588-17 for asset management planning. Based on the 2023 data we had available, we can summarize the non-core assets with the following statistics. Total replacement cost for our assets is $337 million, or a little over $21,000 per capita. 73% of these assets fall within the good to very good condition range, and 32% of these assets have over 10 years of replacement life remaining. Condition for several of our assets looked at remaining useful life as a threshold for condition unless an assessment was completed. New in 2023, we were able to complete a building condition assessment on all of our Category A and B facilities. This was 37 facilities in total. This assessment has provided us with detailed recommendations, which will be incorporated into our long-term planning. Once again, the asset management plan provides us with a baseline for all of our assets. An understanding of this baseline with regards to assets, in combination with a strategy to create standards for maintenance and inspections, will allow for fully informed decision-making and effective long-term budgeting. With the addition of non-core assets in our current asset management plan, minor housekeeping amendments are required to integrate this new Part B. These amendments are minor and ensure that the correct and complete implementation of our asset management plan. To follow the 5-year review schedule, the asset management plan will be updated again in 2026 based on the original approval date in 2021. Looking forward, the next steps for the town's asset management is an asset management strategy, which will describe how the asset management policy will be implemented at the town. It will outline our objectives for asset management, describe the roles of individuals, as well as the asset management system in supporting and achieving these objectives. The asset management strategy, or AMS, will come to council this fall, followed by the proposed levels of service and integration of this information into the financial strategy for 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. So there is a recommendation that council amend the asset management plan to include the non-core assets and related housekeeping revisions. Questions or comments from members? The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, and through you. Unfortunately, my computer just clicked out and the battery doesn't seem to be recharging, so I can't access the exact reference, but somewhere towards the end of your report, there's mention of the fact that one of the largest categories that's showing as, I think, poor to fair condition is in the fire department. I'm noting also that there's a specific mention there that it's about sometimes regulatory pressure in terms of replacement with fire stuff. The police department is in this the same, or the police services is in the same category. Can we expect perhaps during budget time that we'll get some kind of information that just sets out those kinds of asset situations, which, it's not about the normal life of something, it's about regulatory pressure that, 5 years they have to be replaced. Will we get a report that sets out specifically for fire services and police services, those kinds of requirements so that I'm assuming maybe they're in the 10-year capital plan, but if they're not, that there's an awareness that these kind of fit into a special category. And in the situation with fire, it did show up as the biggest number. I'm sure that that's being reflected in capital planning going forward. Is that a fair assumption? It's really hard to see you, by the way, because you're just a shadow. So
It's just the glare.
sorry about that, the glare coming off the window. But is that a fair assumption to make, that those kinds of requirements associated with capital or with asset management will be picked up in the 10-year capital plan, or information will be provided that just sets out that we know some things that are coming because of regulatory pressures? Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So the 2025 regulation requires us to incorporate a financial strategy into our asset management plan. So that will definitely help highlight those key points. In terms of minimum maintenance standards and making sure that those are incorporated, I will say that our fire and police department follow those regulations and incorporate all those needs into our budget. And that is similar with some of our other assets, such as street signs. Those all follow the regulations and are planned for in the budget. Jim, did you have something else to add?
No, I think you summed it up fairly well, but we'll, just as we did last year, we'll be presenting a comprehensive presentation over 2 days at business planning time. And Ed and I will make sure that those questions are all addressed.
Okay, further questions or comments? The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's really just a comment. Jessica, thank you so much for all the work you've done on this. And it's just a tremendous amount of work. And I know, speaking from other municipalities in Bruce County, I'm not sure about Gray, but I dare say we've done the best job of all municipalities in Gray and Bruce County. You've done a really terrific job on this and meeting some deadlines too, which is really, really important. I got the 125-page report. I worked my way through it. I confess I didn't get to every page in detail, but it's a long report. But one of the things I just saw here, when I was reading it, is on page 26. But and it's just one example of our capital infrastructure. But 59 park sites. It's really incredible. And you talking here about a replacement cost of $88 million replacement cost, 50 million of which is dominated by community park sites. So our green space, we're doing well with swings and slides and parkland. My one question I have is Lamont Sports Park. I think the investment's $10 or $12 million. Would that be that? Is this report that current? Would Lamont Sports Park be included in those 88 sites?
Yes. Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So Lamont is to this stage incorporated into the asset management plan. We know it's not complete, obviously. I will say what needs to be noted is that some of the facilities based in parks, so the additional equipment, benches, bleachers, that kind of thing, are under community service assets. And the value of the physical land is under the land category. So if we put that all together, that value would be much, much higher.
Okay, gotcha. Again, thanks so much. Congratulations. And you should be very, very proud of your work, because it was a lot of work. It is a lot of work. So thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Halpin.
There we go. Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I just want to make a comment that I think that these asset management plans are good governance that is going to protect the taxpayer. It's forcing us to make good decisions and make long-term plans to continue the level of services that we have. And the assets we have will continue on in the years to come. So thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from members? I don't see any. I think it's been well said, and we appreciate all your work that you have done on this and that all staff have done to contribute to this work. It's really important work, and it's certainly going to help us as we build plans for the future, our budgets and business plans over the next going forward. Really, we'll be able to put together. We've already seen the benefit of some of this work in our past 10-year capital plan, and with the addition of this additional work, it's going to make our planning even more robust and make sure that we know where we need to invest and how we need to invest, as the Vice Deputy Mayor said, to make sure those services continue into the future. I did The one piece here, and I just keep scrolling to try to find it. I read it and I can't get back to it. But anyway, it was the land category, and you just referenced it. It's based on our assessment, right? Our current value assessment on those pieces of property. And it's a kind of it's a bit of a question in terms of asset management, how you do that, because I mean, the current value assessment isn't the value of those lands, right? It's like it significantly understates. You know, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of acres of land, much of which is in potentially developable parts of the community, right? Or at least very valuable parts of the community. And I just like, what is the purpose? What are we trying to accomplish when we include our land values in asset management planning? Because I guess I understand that it's an asset, but it doesn't. If we're not including the replacement value, you know, what are we trying to plan for? I guess. Do you have any comment to that?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. I think we wanted to include the land category in this asset management plan strictly because it is something that we own. I know the surplus land has been a topic of discussion at council as well. So we really wanted to provide a picture of what we currently own and the state of it. So as you can see in the report, the categories are kind of broken down. Although those values, they are impact values, they are a couple years old, which we know obviously are going to undervalue them. But at least it gives us a general idea of what we own and the value of it at that time. And hopefully those impact values will be updated shortly and we'll be able to incorporate those into the plan in the future.
Yeah, I guess as impact comes back, hopefully maybe they'll do a reassessment at some point in the future. And when they do, we'll be able to update those numbers and maybe get a little closer to something more like a fair market value. But anyway, that's good and it's great work. So thank you very much, Jessica, for all of this. And we look forward to using this document to aid in our planning going forward. So with that, you've heard the recommendation. I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we're on to item 2, which is the citizen satisfaction measurement flash vote report. And that's going to be brought to us by the manager of strategic initiatives.
I hope you can see me better.
We can see you anyway. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The town, guided by council, is dedicated to promoting civic engagement and effective communication. As a result, the 2023-2027 strategic plan identifies the necessity for regular citizen satisfaction surveys. This need falls under Direction 6, Foster Civic Engagement and Communication, within Pillar 3, Building Valued Relationships. The report in front of you details that after considerable research into effective surveying practices, staff discovered Flash Vote, a scientifically backed community survey service specifically tailored for local governments. Unlike traditional survey methods, Flash Vote collects input from a representative sample of residents we refer to as a panel, ensuring unbiased and accurate results. Flash Vote can be used to provide resident satisfaction survey levels, which we use for key performance indicators, KPIs, detailed in its use for the trails usage survey and in the beautification survey, and for public opinion, detailed in the 12-month ICE survey. Kevin Lyon, the CEO of Flash Vote, is attending tonight to provide an overview of the platform and address any of your questions. So please welcome Kevin, who is attending virtually. And he's on the lower right corner there. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Jill. Thanks for having me, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Lisa nodding. Excellent. Great. So yeah, thanks for the opportunity to talk to everyone. I'm here to give a little short presentation and answer your questions. The report does a nice job of talking about Flash Vote, but always useful to have some Q&A and also kind of outline the big challenging problem that that people have. It's from a talk I gave to OMAA when I met Kara, I believe. And let me see if I can share the screen. Terrific. And let me know if you can see my screen. Oops. Okay, anyone got my screen? Not yet.
We don't see the presentation yet.
Okay, give it just
Oh, there it is. Yeah, we see it now.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, well, again, so I'm Kevin Lyons. I'm a co-founder and CEO of FlashVote. I also do the survey design and writing, and we're delighted to work with you guys at Saugeen Shores. It's one of our first Canadian customers, and you guys are doing a great job with it so far. So we're excited to promote the great work you're doing to others. There's a problem that you probably are aware of, and with public input that you might get. And there's a neat case study we were able to do with Harvard Kennedy School in Massachusetts, where we were part of a study to look at the input that was coming in from different channels and from different people. And so the summary of this input methods matter was done by a professor and a team of grad students that went to meetings and tracked who said what, and then they went to follow up on a scientific survey that we did with us. But in between, they also did a SurveyMonkey survey shared on social media. And so what I'm going to show you is what we learned from that. So the in-person meeting was the first thing. Picture a town working on a rec center, and there's 5 things that they thought people might be interested in and think that they need there. So the first thing they did is have an in-person meeting. And 2 things jumped out from this meeting. They counted the percentages of people that were supporting these: study meeting and event space and health and social services space. Now it's an in-person meeting, so assuming you guys are like most folks across the US and Canada, what do you think the demographics look like in that meeting? If you had to guess between older or younger showing up at that meeting. Anyone want to shout out at something?
Younger.
Younger? Oh, interesting. Okay. You guys might be different. So most of the time when we have our meetings, it's older folks. So in this case, about 81% of them were over 60. You can imagine going different ways though, right? So then they did an online survey. And what do you think they got for results? It's the same as the meetings. Isn't that neat? So basically the top 1 and 2 were still study meeting, event space, and health and social services. Now, if you were to think about an online survey versus a meeting, are you thinking maybe younger or older? You think the online folks are younger or older than the meeting people? Got another guess? We'll keep playing along. No guess?
Younger.
Younger, okay. Guessing younger again. And this time, that's what they saw. So compared to the meeting, of course, the meeting was really old anyway, about 31% of people were over 60. So a lot closer to the true demographics of the community. So same results, completely different demographics in this case. So, like most people, I'd be thinking, great, we've got awesome data. We can now go ahead and use that for our decisions. The last thing we did was a scientific survey, and that was done with the FlashVote system, building a panel of people, regular people first, and then ask them a question, even though the people have no idea what the question is going to be. And when we did that, 3 out of the 5 things were flipped. So sports was actually number 1, and study meeting and health and social services were both below the line. And the thing that people might think is, okay, well, was demographics the difference in our survey? And the answer was no. Our demographics look just like the online survey. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is that when you're doing an open, come to give us input type questionnaire that we sometimes call a unscientific survey, it's not about the demographics of the people, it's the self-selection. It's their interest in the topic. It's them coming to you because they have some angle on an issue. And that's what this study really highlighted. And the conclusion, because this is the common way we get input, and I've been an official for 11 years now myself, so I can experience this challenge firsthand. Traditional methods of community input are biased. So that's kind of a very simple case study. And for fun, I thought I'd include this from one of the leading educators on social media law in the United States. He summarizes it as, if you think social media is a good representation of the public, you are too drunk to drive. So that's another thing I always like to keep in mind, because it feels like it's everyone, but it isn't. So the broader problem, we have data on this originally from our first 300 surveys and now through our first 600 surveys around North America. is if you take a guess about how often do you think public input sentiment, the sentiment of what you hear, is a match for what the whole community actually thinks. You might throw out a percentage if anyone wants to volunteer. High or low? How often do you think it's a good match?
25%.
25%. Okay. I can't see any hands, but if you want to sort of, some people take the over, some people take the under. That's a pretty good guess, actually. So we found about 5% of the time it's a match. So it matches the amount and the side of the sentiment. And then about 25% of the time, it was a small group that felt larger, but not to be a majority of the sentiment. So any kind of guess in that 5 to 25% range, even 30% range is in the right ballpark. And that leaves 70% of the time where that sentiment is actually the opposite of the full public sentiment. So what that means is, it's kind of crazy, but if you did the opposite of what you heard from public input, you would be twice as good at decision making as the kind of listening to it, which is a crazy thing to think about, but that's what the data shows. So if you want to visualize the issue, picture your whole community and who you're most likely to hear from on any particular single issue. Well, you can guess, right? It's going to be the edges. Unfortunately, we tend to get a lot of the haters more than the people who are really excited about something and generally nicer. But when we hear those haters, our brains go to, okay, I guess people don't really like this, because that's the sample we see in front of us. It's exactly natural and how we're supposed to think about it. The hard thing to remember is that could be everyone in your community, and everyone else could think something's great, even though there's very, very vocal and visible haters, or the other way around. And so the challenge that I've certainly had to experience, I bet you guys too, whatever that edge you're hearing from, that feels like everyone, and it can be pretty demoralizing when it happens. So as an antidote for that, you need a way to hear from regular people in the fat middle of the bell curve. So from the whole community, and that's what FlashVote's designed to do. So we get regular people first without the axes to grind, get them to participate, make it super easy and super inclusive with how they participate, and give you statistically valid community input in 48 hours on whatever the issue is where that input will be helpful. So the panels were mentioned. We've actually pioneered the idea of these scientific panels at the local level. So we created our first survey panel in 2013, started testing it and making it work. And what that means is those people do sign up, and this is how they've signed up in Saugeen Shores. We've gotten information from them, some demographics. We've gotten an address from them, confirmed that on a map, and then we're ready for questions. And that's when we also help design the questions. What can we get out of people's heads? What's really their expertise, things that they know? Do a lot of quality control to make sure that we give you really good unbiased data, and make it readable, and always make sure there's trade-offs and costs and benefits so that you can get the most actionable data possible to help inform your decisions. The platform is multi-channel and inclusive. So once a survey is ready to go, we'll send out emails. People can have text reminders. You can even do a phone call if they want. It's up to them. And these panels have really caught on, not just with us, but in the US, Pew Research is one of the leading national research firms, and they started a panel in 2014. Within 4 years, that was their main source. So they'd switched to panels. And so that's what we've seen driving some of our success. Now we're in about over 30 states and provinces, might be up to 35 now, including Ontario, which we're delighted about. And you've done several surveys so far. So a beautification survey, a trail system survey, and an ice rink survey. And you can visit those anytime you'd like yourselves. One thing to point out is that every survey is like a dozen surveys in one, because they all have filters as well. And you'll see that in the upper left. And you can play around and get the additional insights from those filters, however it's helpful to you. With that, I will pause and just go to Q&A.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet, yeah.
All right, so there is a recommendation that council receive the citizen satisfaction measurement flash vote report for information. Questions or comments? We'll start with the deputy mayor. Work our way down.
Thank you, and through you, Jill, I appreciate your efforts to engage the community in different ways. I think we try lots of different things and we get lots of different responses. Just as a comment, I see Jay Pausers in the audience. The most recent in-person one about the tree canopy study was extremely well attended and was a different format than this. I just, and that was good too. So it's good to have a mix. I wanted to ask you, three flash vote situations were mentioned in your report. And I know you've specifically said that the outcome of the 12-hour ice or 12-month ice is coming. Did we, and I apologize if I just missed it, but did we receive an indication of the situation that resulted from the first two, which was about parks and trails and beautification? And I saw that there was a slide that just went up there that showed how the results could be viewed. Could I ask that you provide that to all of us too, so that we can follow up? But did we get any of those results? Do you have any highlights that you can share from those two as well?
Through you, Mr.
Thank you.
Mayor. Yeah, the way I look at Flash Vote, we're kind of in a support position to other departments. So we did the beautification and the trails survey for Parks and Recreation, specifically because it's tied to their KPIs. So they would be bringing back what they learned, was my, way of thinking. And then with the 12-month ICE, same thing. So that when that report comes to council, the report will show how the survey was used to present kind of the data in front of you. I can certainly share the results of all three surveys. If you sign up for the panel, as Kevin mentioned, you can actually see them yourself, and you certainly are welcome to sign up.
Okay, Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yep. And thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions, Jill, and then I just had a comment too. The cost for the program to set it up, one-time setup cost. What is the yearly maintenance fee for the program?
It's actually, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, it's an annual cost of $12,000.
It's an annual fee.
That's right. And we get several surveys. We get 6 to 8 surveys.
6 to 8 surveys for $12,000 a year, right? Okay. Is it subject to, huge increases from year to year? Is it, how long is that 12,000 locked in?
We have it locked in for the next 10 years.
At $12,000?
Yes.
I think it's money well spent. And, I just was asking our CAO today a little bit about some of the results. I was concerned about, summer ice when I first looked at this report, and I thought, who knows better whether we need summer ice or not than figure skating club and minor hockey and all the ice user groups. But it's a focus group. They're biased, obviously. So you're going to get that small group of people saying we need summer ice. But what this does, what I like about this with this panel, it really gives a cross section from your community and get the flavor from how our community at large is feeling about something like that. But so this could, it could be very influential, helpful when council's making a decision for something like summer ice, or it could go the other way too, right? You could have a high percentage of people saying, no, we're not going to finance an additional cost for summer ice. It's for $40 million a year. No, I'm not going to support that. So it could work both ways. But in the case of summer ice, I'm hoping it comes back favorable. And the system's worked for me because it says it's needed here. So it could work both ways.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment that actually for that particular study or project work, we actually did two. We did the panel survey, and we also put the survey out to the public.
Oh, good.
And we did that just so you'll be able to see the results, the difference between the panel and what we heard from the broader community. And what was interesting too was we tracked the number of shares on social media were, phenomenal by the general at-large survey,
Right.
which was very popular among people who had an interest, whether they wanted it or didn't want it. They wanted to participate in the survey.
Exactly. Joe, what's the size of the panel now? 200, 300? You said it. I can't remember what the number was.
You, Mr. Mayor, it's about 350 right now.
350. So my question to the presenter is the results that come out with those 350 people on the panel. And I imagine this is a fluent number, like people can jump in at any time. Can they, Jill? Can they still be added to the panel, and how do they do it? Is my first question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, people can join anytime. We actually have it on our website. And so we often share it just to remind people. So it's very simple to join, and you can do it anytime.
Nice cross section between the three wards, Saugeen Township, Port Elgin, Southampton.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, fairly well represented, yes.
Okay. To the presenter, my question is, if that number grew from 350, say 1,000 members of the panel, with historically, statistically, do the results tend to change much if you go from 350 to 1,000, or does the number pretty much remain constant?
That's an excellent question. Yeah, so statistics is interesting where as you quadruple the number of people, you half the margin of error, which is a nerdy way of saying that it doesn't move that much. So 250 people is a great number to have in a panel, or 200. So if 250 is about plus or minus 6%, if you go to 1,000, you end up with a plus or minus 3% error. So that's your estimate of the population percentage, which from a practical standpoint doesn't actually make a difference, because you're really looking to see, hey, are we over here or are we over here? And you're not really using the decimal points so much.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's good to have, because some of your subsamples become better. Like if you want to look in the different geographic regions or other filters.
So just so I'm clear, the margin of error going from 300 to 1,000, you said it's about 3%. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So at 250, it's about plus or minus 6%. At around 400, that's kind of a gold standard of plus or minus 5%. So that tells you that basically if there's no other error, think of it as like a minimum error, but if there's no other error and I'm taking M&Ms out of a bag to figure what percent are green, and I take 250 out, then the percentage that I have in my sample of M&Ms, it basically means 19 out of 20 times that's going to be within plus or minus 6% of the true percentage in the entire bag. So your true estimate of the whole population.
Right. Well, Mr. Mayor, I think this money really, Jill, I don't know who thought of this idea, but I think it's really going to help council with making decisions as we move forward. So I just think it's a money well spent. So thanks for your great work again.
Thank you. Councillor Mayette, did you have a comment?
I did. I was going to talk about percentage accuracy. We hear all the time, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. We hear all the time about like Ipsos Reid polls and political polls, and they always say, plus or minus 3%, 99 times out of 100 or something like that. And I think Vice Deputy Mayor touched on what I was thinking too, which was how accurate are the polls and the sample size. But dispense with that question then, because we've heard the answer. My question is, how does a person get involved? People may be listening here tonight and they want to be on the panel. And is there any limit to how many we can have? Like we have a population of somewhere between 16 and 20,000, depending on the time of year, maybe more. It would be great if we had like 25% of the population or more on this panel. And once they get on so is there a limit to how many we can have? And the next question would be, well, let's go with that one for now.
Sure. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. There's no limit. There is a commitment. So when they sign up, it's kind of like, do you care about your community? Do you want to have a say? Do you agree to participating in X number of surveys per year? Yes, then you can sign up. And what we know from even the three that we've done, we've gotten different numbers back where we may have, 350 on the panel, but not everybody completes the survey. So you have that as well.
Okay. And second is how do people get notified when there's a survey? Do they get an email or?
And through you, Mr. Mayor, once they've signed up, that's exactly right. They get an email. And I should mention, we don't have the text reminder here in Canada.
I think you have the text reminder, but we don't do the direct text outreach in Canada.
Right.
So people who want a text
Okay.
message as a reminder so they don't miss the survey are welcome to sign up for that and opt into that.
Well, okay, that's the questions I have. Thanks. I think I'll reiterate what I heard already, which I think it's a great idea. You know, getting good data leads to good decisions. And, you know, we often hear groups come in and say that we did a survey on Facebook and 99% of our members are in favor of A or B. And you always have to take those with a grain of salt. So I think this is a great idea. It's more scientific and I think it's money well spent too. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there further questions or comments from members? I don't see any. I was wondering, a question just occurred to me following up on Councilor Matt's question. So if a person who's on the panel doesn't respond for a period of time or for a number of surveys, are they eventually removed from the panel so that we don't have a false sense of how many people we actually have on the panel?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't believe do they drop off?
So yeah, we actually monitor the panel for people that have stopped taking surveys. They might have moved away, passed away, lost interest. And so periodically we'll actually offer them an opportunity to confirm they want to participate and or offer to tell them that we're moving them off. And if they don't actively re-click, then they'll be removed. So we do try to refresh the panel over time.
That's clear. Okay. I got Councilor Grace and then we'll come back to the Vice Deputy Mayor. Councilor Grace.
Thank you. Sorry, we're driving and it's a little disorganized. Anyway, my question is, and I apologize if I missed this already, but what kind of background information do we give the panel members on various issues or questions that we're asking them about before they complete the survey?
Another great question. Yeah, it's when we're doing survey questions, we want to make sure that the context required to answer the question is contained in the question. And so that can be maybe some context in the first question that carries through other questions. But as you'll see in some of the surveys we've done already, we'll tend to contain it as close as possible to the question. So if you want to ask them about something and they might not necessarily know that, you want to make sure they know what they need to know to answer the question. But also not more than that, because then you start to create distractions. So thanks for the question.
Okay, the Vice Deputy Mayor.
Just very quick question. There's 440 municipalities in the province of Ontario. How many member municipalities do you have?
You guys are in the first 4. So we just started moving into Canada in the fall. So pat yourself on the back for being at the cutting edge too.
Large number in the States?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. There's nothing further. Well, thank you very much for that presentation. It's important to remember and sort of reiterate that this isn't ever going to be the only option we have for seeking feedback from the public. All of the ways in which we consult the public will continue, whether that be public meetings, whether that be feedback people coming to council, 100 different ways that we receive feedback from the public. Ultimately, the public opinion and the right direction for the community is something for the folks around this table to divine. And we look for as many different tools as we can, as many different insights as we can access to figure out what that opinion is and what that right direction is. Sometimes the right direction may be something that doesn't align with public opinion because it's something that has to be done and is just the right thing to do. But I think it's good to have as many tools as we can possibly have at our disposal to understand what the public's sentiment is, so we can try as much as possible to align our decision making with what the public wants to see and the way they want their community to develop. So thank you very much for your work on this. Looking forward to seeing lots of survey results going forward. And so you've heard the recommendation, and I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, So now we're on to our third and final report in this category, which is a report on a fund transfer for Victoria Street, Peel Street to Morpeth Street, and project to Lisa Lane, Christopher Street to Davy Street project. And we have the manager of engineering, and there he is, giving us the presentation. Rahul, over to you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and through you. This report is to request a fund transfer of 200,000 from the Victoria Street from Peel Street to Morpeth Street to the Lisa Lane from Christopher Street to Davy Street. We have savings over 1.2 million from the Victoria Street projects. So in the background, you will also can see the reasons for this cost increase for the Lisa Lane project.
Okay, so there's a recommendation that council approve a transfer of $200,000 from the Victoria Street project to the Lisa Lane project. Questions or comments from members? Seeing none, well, thank you for this report. Looking forward to seeing this project advance. So with that, I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving on to communications and petitions for the Committee of the Whole. There are several items there, 10 of them. Anybody wish to speak to any of those items? Oh, sorry, the Vice Deputy Mayor.
It's number 10, Mr. Mayor, and I've had lots of lots of experience with in my past career with negotiating with school boards to see if they can't non-shutter their gymnasiums, their facilities on weekends for weekend use. And I think that the town of Aurora is onto something here that's been it's been fought for a lot of years, is trying to get those schools open, paid for by the taxpayers. We have a shortage of gymnasium space in our community, and yet we've got 4 or 5 schools you can't get in for the most part. You may have a sympathetic principal or a sympathetic custodian that somehow you get in on a weekend, but generally schools are closed on the weekends for use of gymnasium space. And this resolution asks for the Minister of Education, to change that policy to pass a policy that would say that schools are non-shuttered. It's a cost-sharing agreement. It's a memorandum of understanding. You have to pay the obviously going rate to get into the school, but why not? I just think there's a real need there. It's a lot cheaper to do it that way than building our own gymnasiums, multiple. So I support that resolution, and I would like to make a motion to support what the town of Aurora is doing, because I think it's a good thing.
Okay, so the Vice Deputy Mayor moves support for the resolution from the town of Aurora. Is there a seconder for that? The Deputy Mayor, any further discussion on that? Do you have a comment, Councillor Halpin? Councillor Halpin, yep.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I agree with this, that, these are taxpayer funded buildings that are there. And just in fairness, I do want to say that there are several programs that do run at our local high school. I would say that there's the Spark Night School, there's badminton, there's they have football camps in the summer and different things like that. So it's not like I support this and we should use them more, but we shouldn't go into this saying that the school board is totally not cooperating in this manner. So I would like to say that we should have further cooperation and greater cooperation and avoid any language that's suggesting that there's little cooperation. That's my comment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'd agree with those comments. Certainly been in the school plenty myself, seeing lots of those programs running, but I think I read it's admittedly been a few days since I read the resolution, so I'm just going through it. I don't see language in the resolution that is accusatory or critical of the boards. It looks more like requesting an opportunity to work with the boards to enhance that usage. So I think I think the resolution aligned with your thinking, Councillor Halpin. Do you have a further comment, Councillor Halpin?
I would be willing to second that motion.
Okay. Did I already have a seconder? I can't remember. Okay, I think we already have a second, so we're good that way. One small amendment to the resolution, just Minister Lecce is no longer the Minister of Education. It would be Minister Smith now, so we will edit the resolution to that effect. Any further comments or questions? If not, we'll ask all in favor of that one. That's carried. Okay, anybody wish to speak to any of the other items on here? Councillor Davinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, number 4, the letter from the Ministry of Transportation regarding what I assume was the going for the roundabout at McNabb and Highway 21. We were turned down this year for help in that regard. And the letter encourages us to apply again next year. In the meantime, can we, as a council, set up our own stoplight issue there? Or is it because it's a connecting link, we lose? I know the province isn't much interested in that, but I'm just wondering.
We can certainly get the manager of engineering to speak to it. I think that the two questions are somewhat separate in terms of the funding and the permission, right? What we can do will still require provincial approval, but we may have to pay for it ourselves if we want to advance even with their approval, but maybe the manager has some further comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Actually, after we received that letter, we had a meeting with MTO that why we were not successful on McNabb. So the summary of the discussion we had that actually Ministry of Transportation, they are only focused to through traffic. They want to make sure that through traffic is moving smoothly, and that's all. They don't care about any side street. So Jill and also Mark was with me. So the discussion we had, and I think if you remember, Councillor, that we had a presentation last year in September for a multi-year connecting links application strategy. So for next year, actually, we have in our plan, we have the Southampton portion, Highway 21. That's from South Street to James at the end for resurfacing. And then we actually made a special request to include Turner next year. So principally, they don't accept 2 applications for 1 section, but in our case, they will actually consider if we submit 2 applications. So in regards to the McNabb, we were not successful because they have a criteria or condition rating. We did not meet that condition rating. So Mark also proposed that how about if we just go by our own, especially the pedestrian crossover. And the presentation, you remember that Jean from Paradigm made a presentation on the crossover, I think the couple of months before. So they said if we fund, they may consider, but that's not a guarantee. It will cost us just for the pedestrian crossover around 150K. But they will not support us financially. So that's the discussion we had. So next year, we can submit 2 applications on the Southampton section of connecting links. So it's up to council. We will come back to council with our revised plan since we are adding Turner to this year application. So we have to come back to council again for your approval. Then we can make our decision on that day when we will be back to council. We are hoping to get back to council in late July or August first week.
Councillor Vinsky.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that. So Did you say that if we were to put in stoplights at our expense, it would cost $150,000? Is that what you said, sir?
That's only, through you, Mr. Mayor, that's only for the pedestrian crossing, not for traffic signal or a roundabout, just the pedestrian crossing. That's, they can consider, but it, again, my experience dealing with MTO, they don't like actually any kind of interruption on their through traffic. So that's their position.
All right, we'll leave it there for now.
Yeah, I think what we'll get is a report back on all of this so we can have a
Thank you,
specific discussion on it, and but it's a worthwhile discussion and we'll have it. So thanks for that, Rule. The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And I appreciate that you use the word crossing at the end, because I think you said crossover, and I didn't want people to think that it was about over the highway. It's about a ground level crossing. And I agree with Councillor Davinsky that it's an alternate that we should hopefully have a chance to discuss. I do hope that the application next year is successful. I'm without my laptop here, but I believe one of the other items was about the successful one. Can you perhaps just give a comment about the timeline? Because the idea of repaving Highway 21, Goderich Street through Port Elgin, do we have a sense of when that might happen? Because, you know, it's a wonderful opportunity, but it will be a little bit disruptive. So do you know when that might sort of be initiated? Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So we just got the RFP out for design work. So it will be, the submission is on 25th of this month. And then we'll have a discussion with the consultant, and we'll actually, we'll have a kind of construction schedule. So at this time, we can estimate the date. It will be fall and spring next year. We will try to avoid our peak time. So hopefully September, October, November this year. And if we cannot complete the entire construction, it may spill over next year, maybe early spring to end of the spring.
Thank you for that. And just as a follow-up question, the funding that's coming from the province and the contribution that we'll make as well is really specifically related to asphalt resurfacing. Or will there potentially be some improvements adjacent to the road in terms of, I don't know, some sidewalk repairs where needed, or intersection curb situations? Or is that part of this, or is it really just asphalt resurfacing?
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, actually MTO, they do not support funding for anything else but the road itself only. So sidewalk, water, or SANI, it will be on us. So that's why we actually take a stand that we will try to avoid any other improvement in this project. Yeah.
And I would just, and thank you for that. I would just add that it's important as you put out the RFP and consider design work, that if there are changes to the current design of the roadway, whatever they may be, to think carefully about those. And if it's necessary to seek input from the public, I would do that. There are features even within the right of way that are of importance, right? In downtown Port Elgin, there are the interlocking maple leaf logos in those in each of those intersections, which will be important to the public. There's also on-street parking, turning lanes, things that you may be considering doing as part of this project, which will have implications and which will be important to the public. So, you know, I would examine that carefully, and if some level of input either from this council or from the public at large is warranted, then you should certainly include that in your plans.
Yeah.
But it is a positive bit of news, $2.6 million, I think, from the province for this project, and that's a significant amount of money in terms of the overall Connecting Link project, or overall Connecting Link program across the province. We got a big chunk of that money, and so grateful for the province's support in that. Are there further comments on any of these other items? If not, then that brings us to the end of the committee of the whole agenda. So we will move on to statements by members, and we'll begin with the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I just wanted to mention that, you know, the tennis club was here earlier, and of course, they have wonderful programming that attracts an awful lot of kids. I took some kids last week to a PD Day program that the Southampton Arts group put on. It was at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Southampton. And, you know, that's amazing opportunities too for kids in our community, that all of the arts programming. I did want to highlight though that last week I spent a number of days out of town at the Ontario Association for Police Service Boards conference. And I really hope that in the next couple of months, information and a report of some kind comes back to council via the Police Service Board and the Chief of Police about the introduction and provincial finally adoption of the Community Safety and Policing Act, the new Police Act. There's an awful lot to digest with it, and the conference was very good for that purpose. But there are some things that will be important to consider going forward, just in terms of what safe and effective policing in our community has to look like, should look like, and will look like, and some requirements in terms of specific equipment that's required for every police vehicle and every police officer, and some complaint process changes and training process requirements. But I do hope that within the next couple months that a report will come. It was an incredible conference, and I see that the municipal solicitor is here. I do want to just add that I don't know how it came up in a conversation that I was having with some people at a table, and the word indemnification fit into the conversation. And I happened to mention that, oh, we just had a report at council about an indemnification review and upgrade or update to our policy. And I don't know if the municipal solicitors received any requests from two clerks from other communities, but they were very excited because we were first off the mark, and they said that lots of communities are looking into this. So I very much appreciated the chance for us to appear to be a leader in that regard too. I'll also mention that also last week, the mayor had initiated some conversation a while back related to water safety and that sort of thing. And the fire chief has picked up on that. The police chief is also involved in the conversation now. So we had a community meeting with some OPP officers just to make sure that the interests of Saugeen Shores are being taken into account when we think about safety on the water, because we're about to enter a critical season, and I very much appreciated being part of that meeting too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Nothing to report.
Councillor Dominski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one thing, and that was on Saturday, June 1st. The Rotary Huron Shore Run was a successful run, and we had close to 1,000 participants take part in that. And boy, we were so close. And the beauty is the money raised, the money given for taking part in the event goes right smartly back into our community through the 3 Rotary clubs, the track and field club, and most importantly, the hospital foundation. I haven't seen a number as to how much has been raised yet, but I know it will be a good number. And thanks to all who took part in the event, the volunteers, and so on. And special thanks to John and Joan Van Bastelaar, who are letting go of the reins. And they were recognized at the race itself. And after all those years of work, they got to count down one race. Anyway, they enjoyed themselves, they loved it, and they love the fact that we're almost at 1,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one thing, on Friday last week during the PD Day, The Saugeen Sparks Training Center was host to a Tools in the Trades boot camp. And so there were about 50 participants trying their hands at electrical skills and welding skills. It was connected at the Saugeen Secondary School. It was a tremendous success, and all those that participated went away with a terrific, either a tool pouch for the electricians or a tool bag with gloves and helmets for the welders. It was a terrific event. It's funded by the provincial government, and it was thoroughly successful and goes a long way towards our mission of promoting skilled trades in our community. Thank you.
Very good. Councillor DeHame.
Nothing to report. Thanks, Mayor.
Councillor Stack.
Yeah, thanks. The only thing is just about the Rotary Run. So I'm just going to put this on the record because this will be the first and last time that I beat the 17-year-old that lived at my house by like 2 minutes. So she was tired. She had been out late, but I just want it on the record.
Thank God for the prom, eh? Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a shout out to the rail trail. They're completing some maintenance on a section of the trail from the 10th through Highway 21. We've completed our mustard garlic pull for the year. They've been planting trees, and just a shout out to all the hardworking people on the rail trail that make that important linear park work and be available for us. So kudos to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to extend my compliments to the high school drama and music program for their production of the Addams Family musical. We went to on Friday night. It was ever seen. So I know it's a ton of work for 40 and I encourage you to go see it. It's over now. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's everybody. I guess just a couple of things from me. One, on the 31st of May, I was really pleased to lead the ceremony out front of this building to raise the pride flag once again. I think this might be the 5th or 6th time that we have done that annually here at the town of Saugeen Shores, and there was a pretty good attendance there. It was nice to see folks from all sorts of organizations across our community there, and I just wanted to note the town's ongoing commitment to celebrating the diversity of our community and letting everybody know that no matter who you are and no matter who you love, you are loved and welcome here in the town of Saugeen Shores. And sort of on a similar vein, well, the Spark event was going on Friday, and I'd really hoped to be there, but I was called away by the warden. I had to represent the warden in Owen Sound at the opening of the new Wellness and Recovery Center that Bright Shores is opening or has opened or is about to open, I should say. I guess it'll open in a week or so there in Owen Sound. And I hadn't realized before I attended that the County of Bruce supported the project financially. It was attended by both the Premier and the Deputy Premier, Minister of Health, Minister of Addictions and Mental Health. And the reason why it was attended by those folks is because it's the first one of these in the province of Ontario. It's never been done anywhere to have a specialized center to treat folks with addiction and mental health issues. And the whole purpose is to put them into sort of a full end-to-end care setting and take them away from the healthcare system, out of the hospitals and other places that are perhaps less equipped or too busy doing other things to give them that level of treatment. So it's just a really great facility, I think, and it was a really great accomplishment by Bright Shores and all of the community partners who came together to make that happen. Anyway, I was really fortunate to be there, and we wish them all the best. I know certainly Owen Sound is the right place for it to be. They certainly have addiction and mental health issues that they need to deal with in that city. But these are issues that affect every community across Grey and Bruce, including our own. And so I think it's a worthwhile thing for Bruce County to have supported it, because I know folks from Saugeen Shores will make use of that center, and hopefully they'll go there and get on the right track to recovery as a result of those services. So anyway, it was good to be there. So with that, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder to adjourn the committee of the whole. Mayette and Davinsky, all in favor. The committee stands adjourned. Council will convene at 8:15.
Hello, Counselor Grace. Where are you? It seems you're traveling.
We picked our daughter up at the airport and we're driving home from the airport right now.
Oh, okay. I'm in the great state of Wisconsin.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Did you do your wedding already?
No, but we went to 2 functions. The wedding's tomorrow. So we traveled
Oh,
Friday.
okay.
We traveled Saturday, we traveled Sunday. Today we're off and we travel again tomorrow. So, but then the rest should be just up here in the Northwoods.
Nice.
Yes, yes.
Okay, everybody, we're going to convene the committee or the regular council meeting now. So I'd like to call to order this regular council meeting of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores for June 10th, 2024. Second item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Ask any member if you have one of those you'd like to declare at this time. Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. We have no additions, deletions, or amendments, so we're moving on to adoption of the minutes. 3 sets of minutes there this evening. There's a resolution that council adopt the minutes of the regular council meetings of May 21 and May 27, 2024, and note and file the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of May 27, 2024 as presented. Is there a mover and seconder? The Vice Deputy Mayor, Councillor Stack. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, then all in favor. That is carried. All right, so now we're on to, we have no public meetings. We're moving into closed to public. And council is moving into closed to public session to discuss, offer discussion and direction on negotiations for proposed or pending disposition of land. So there is a resolution that council move into a closed to public session in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001, Section 2392 as follows. C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. And K, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Duhame, seconded by Halpin. All in favor? That is carried. All right, council will now move into a closed to public session. Okay, so I have a resolution. The council arise from the close of public session and resume the regular council meeting. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Stack, seconded by Duhame. All in favor? Council is now back in open session, and I can report that council discussed and gave direction on negotiations for proposed or pending disposition of land. So no further business arising from the close to public. Actually, I should also report the council adopted a set of minutes in closed. Council adopted the close to public minutes of May 27th, 2024. Okay, so now we're on to reports of the Committee of the Whole, and there is a resolution there with several recommendations. I should ask, does anybody wish to have any of those recommendations considered on their own? I don't see any requests for that. So there is a resolution. The council approved the allocation of $50,000 from the future capital reserve to extend the contract of Wellington DuPont for government relations until December 31st, 2024, and that council direct staff to add future government relations funding to the 2025 business plan for consideration. 2, the council adopt a bylaw to provide indemnification for members of council, boards, and employees. 3, the council receive 2024 first quarter variance to budget report for information. 4, the council adopt a bylaw to authorize the asset retirement obligation policy. 5, the council adopt a bylaw to authorize a debenture through Infrastructure Ontario to fund a portion of the required debt on the Aquatic and Wellness Center. And 6, the council received this team Saugeen Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Action Plan Implementation Report for information. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Mayette, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. All right. So now we have a series of resolutions to consider here. And the first one is May 27, 2024 report regarding the Township of Coleman's Conservation Officer Reclassification Resolution. And it's resolved that council endorsed the Township of Coleman's resolution that supports the Ontario Conservation Officers Association in their efforts to have conservation officers in the province of Ontario reclassified as enforcement officers and be compensated fairly. And that this resolution with a letter of support from Mayor Charbonneau be circulated to Premier Doug Ford, Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, the Honourable Graydon Smith, MPP Lisa Thompson, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Mayette, seconded by Grace. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, so now we're on to item 3, which is a resolution regarding the municipality of West Perth's Conservation Authority Act resolution. And the resolution is that council endorse the municipality of West Perth's resolution that recommends to the province that any proposed changes contemplated by the province be put on hold until such time that the planning statement is finalized by the province and communicated to municipalities. And this resolution be circulated to Premier Doug Ford, MPP Lisa Thompson, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Stack, seconded by Davinsky. Questions or comments to this one? Seeing none, then all in favor? That's carried. Okay, so now we're on to item 4 regarding the City of St. Catharines provincial regulations needed to restrict keeping of non-native wild animals resolution. It's resolved that council endorse the City of St. Catharines resolution that petitions the provincial government to implement provincial regulations to restrict the possession, breeding, and use of non-native or exotic wild animals and licensed zoos to guarantee the fair and consistent application of policy through Ontario for the safety of Ontario citizens and the non-native exotic wild animal population. And that this resolution be circulated to Premier Doug Ford, Ontario Solicitor General, the Honourable Michael Kersner, Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, the Honourable Graydon Smith, MP Ben Lobb, MPP Lisa Thompson, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, and the Municipal Law Enforcement Officers Association of Ontario. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Stack, seconded by Grace. Questions or comments? Did you have a comment, Councillor Grace?
No, just having trouble lowering my hand.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so then all in favor? That is carried. Okay. All right, so now item 5 is regarding the Township of Alwinick and Haldimand's Amphippa Modernization Resolution. It's resolved that council endorse the Township of Alwinick Alan Wick, Haldeman's resolution that requests the Ministry of Public Business and Service Delivery to review MFIPA and consider recommendations as outlined by AMCTO within their submission, quote, looking ahead, a proactive submission to modernize the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, end quote, and that this resolution be circulated to Premier Doug Ford and Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery, the Honorable Todd McCarthy, MPP Lisa Thompson, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks, and Treasurers of Ontario. Is there a mover and seconder? The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Davinsky. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. All right. Item 6 then regarding the municipality of Castleman's regulatory changes on the Conservation Authorities Act resolution. Resolved that council endorse the municipality of Castleman's resolution that supports the call to uphold the principles of scientific integrity, local expertise, and community input in conservation efforts, advocating for the autonomy of conservation authorities to protect our environment from decisions that favor development at the expense of environmental integrity. And this resolution be circulated to Premier Doug Ford, Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, the Honorable Graydon Smith, MPP Lisa Thompson, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Stack, seconded by Duhaime. Is there questions or comments to this one? Seeing none, then all in favor? That's carried. All right, so now we're moving on. That's the end of all of those. We're moving on to report of municipal officers and committees and a staff report on the Southampton Curling Club lease agreement. There's a resolution the council adopt a bylaw to authorize a lease agreement with the Southampton Curling Club for the use of the Southampton Coliseum and Annex. Is there a mover and seconder for that resolution? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by the Vice Deputy Mayor. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, then all in favor? As carried. All right. So no motions or notices. So we're on to bylaws. We have 4 bylaws there this evening. Anybody wish to have any of those considered individually? I don't see any requests for that. So the resolution is that bylaws 45, 2024, 46, 2024, 47, 2024, and 48, 2024 are hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 10th day of June, 2024. Is there a mover and seconder? The Vice Deputy Mayor, Councillor Mayette. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. And finally, the confirmatory bylaw, or second to finally, the confirmatory bylaw, that bylaw 49, 2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 10th day of June, 2024. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Davinsky. All in favor? It's carried. And finally, I have a resolution that this regular council meeting of June 10, 2024 hereby adjourns at 9:01 p.m. Is there a mover and seconder? Stack and the Deputy Mayor, all in favor? Council stands adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Night, bud.